Awesome. Cool. Okay. Hey, thanks you guys so much for joining. Today, what were we over Summit 2019. So I've seen lots of faces join. Know a lot of you guys were here, and what's cool is some of you guys weren't there. So I'd love to get your takeaways as well from sessions that you may have seen live streamed, and then kind of learn a couple nuggets from the folks that were there that have some to share. So what I'd love to do is just kind of open it up to the group. But what I'd love to get from each of you guys is a couple of your biggest ahas that you took away, and then one, maybe two action items that you're going to be doing based on what you learned and what you picked up from the summit. So don't really have a really big order to it. I'm just going to kind of open it up and let you guys kind of share. Like I said, 2-3 things that are the biggest ahas, and then of course an action item that you'll be taking away, and I'll be taking some notes throughout the group, kind of some of the biggest key things that you guys are taking away. So whoever wants to jump in first, feel free to take yourself off of mute, and let's start sharing. Or I can just call on someone, however you guys want to play it.
I'll go ahead.
So a couple of like the biggest takeaways for me, I mean, there was so much, it's really hard to narrow it down, but one comment that Katie made in the influence section was you are paid in direct proportion to how effective you are in your communication. And I just think that that is such a good reminder of what we can focus on every time, like we don't get a client or something doesn't go as well as we hoped it would. Is there something that we can directly reflect on our communication in that situation that we can learn from to make sure that we improve that and improve our influence going forward? So that was my first one. I'll let someone else go.
I'll piggyback on that for just a second. 3 words that we all always need to remember. I tell every new agent this, regardless of the situation, and the 3 words: I'm sorry, thank you, and please. Those 3 words. Imagine, even on millennials, a lot of times you're texting.
No, that's great. Yeah, that shows empathy, and it shows caring and understanding. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cool. And Hannah, if you want to go ahead and just keep going, you're welcome to kind of share all your things, or if you want to open it up to other folks, I'm happy to do that as well.
I'll open it up.
Very good. That's a great one to start with. Kick this off with a bang. I love it.
I was going to mention ahead. Alex, you want?
No, go ahead, Donovan. You got
similar in the influence with Katie, and off of what Hannah said, was to have impact, you have to basically be at the level of someone's programming. And basically the 126 bits that everyone receives is so different, but you've got to get down to the core of it if you really want to make a change or move someone along.
I love it. So can I ask you to kind of elaborate a little bit as best you can on what you mean by must be the level of someone's programming? For those of us that weren't in the room, I want to make sure that that concept isn't lost.
Yeah, I mean, what I took out of it is sort of everyone's initial responses, all of the surface level responses that you'll typically get to a question. But if you really want to use some of the language techniques that we're learning, you've got to get and dial into the core and, going 3, 4, 5, going as deep as possible so that you may not agree with it, like she talked about, but you need to understand completely where they're coming from and maybe some of the different factors that have influenced that, so you can connect on a better level and then move them forward before trying to just push them forward.
I can piggyback on that if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I wrote down that uncertainty causes an increase in emotional reactions. And so, which makes a gravitation towards the limbic system, which is the emotional system in your brain. The amygdala, how do you say that? Amygdala, I don't know. Anyway, so the ideal situation is to move the thoughts into the prefrontal cortex, which is considered the organization of thoughts and actions in accordance with your deep-rooted goals. So, and then I wrote that you're either creating clarity or confusion with your words.
Love that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such an important, that's something that I wrote down too, Melanie. We're either creating, with everything we're saying, we're creating an emotional response. It's either clarity or it's confusion, right? And so I think that it was so powerful for me, because knowing that, that everything is about communication, we're either moving along or we're actually, hurting our relationship. Appreciate that. What other takeaways or aha do you guys? This is great.
I've got two. One's from Holly and one's from Katie, but I think that they feed into each other. The Katie one is there's no failure, only feedback. And right now, as the market shifts, we can take a listing and we either overpriced it or we missed the market, and it feels like a failure. And then on the to extend that a little bit, we're in the service industry, not servants. And, we can, if we overprice that listing, we can have our clients start treating us a lot like servants. Hey, you need to sit at this house all day, every day. That's not creating an environment first that is healthy for us, but also that's actually going to get the house sold. So we need to understand and have those conversations around how to get our house sold. And we can only learn that if we take the failure of not selling the house in the first how many days, and take that, instead of thinking as a failure, take the feedback from that, really understand the market and see what's going on.
Love that, Alex, and you're right. It's no failure, only feedback, and you can use that both for the list and as in your context, right? If either the listing that you have, right? Hey, we're not getting any traction, we're not failing, the market's giving us feedback, and you can use that feedback loop for the next listings that you take and the buyers that you're working with to understand the market, because the market is telling us what's going on. And yes, we are in the service industry, we are not servants, right? And when we help teach people how to treat us, right, and we kind of set expectations, then we're much more able to provide great service in a manner that's both great for us as well as for the clients that we serve. I love that as well. Who else is would like to share their ahas and their takeaways?
So I really liked the story by Simon. Is it Sinek? I'm so bad at pronunciations today. Sorry, guys.
No, that's right. You can just call him Holly's imaginary boyfriend who is not her husband. That's perfect.
Right. Totally. So I really liked the story that he was talking about, that him and his friend were going to get a bagel and there was a huge line, and he didn't want to wait, and Simon walked straight up to the table and grabbed the bagel and came back with the bagels. And he said, well, my friend saw the line and I saw the bagels. Now, with that being said, obviously we have to lead with care, we can't just jump lines. But I love that when you are focusing on something, that you need to focus on that and not the distractions and everything else that is, making you not able to reach that goal. So
go get the bagel.
Go get that bagel.
Love it. Yeah. What's so great about that is I love the story around that. And one thing that I take away from this and many things that we go to, right? A lot of times we remember the stories, right? So I mean, like that visual of the long bagel line with bagel sitting there on the side. All you got to do is just go and take one, or you can wait in line and get the same bagel if you just go there and just take the bagel, right? We remember the story. So think about, how can we use that with our clients and our prospective clients, right? What kind of stories can we tell and can we share with them that will get them to kind of move the needle from where they're at right now, which may be a place where they've got some objections around listing with us or moving forward with a buy? And how can we incorporate stories around, their objections and kind of maybe some of the roadblocks that they have, so that they can A, get to the other side, and B, make it memorable for them as well. So I so appreciate you retelling that story, just making us all aware of, how the power of a really good story.
Hey, I got a question. I was looking through my notes on one, and I can't figure out what the quote is, and it's Brady from yours. A schedule defends the chaos and whim. It's a net for catching days. Is that the quote? Okay. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Brady, can you share that awesome quote that Katie repeated?
Yes. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up.
You rock.
Could you say that quote one more time and unpack it? Because it kind of cut out, and I want to make sure that everybody heard it and then get the context behind it. Or whoever, either Alexander or Brady.
A schedule defends from chaos and whim. It's a net for catching days. I don't really know exactly what the catching days part means. I just kind of like it, but Brady can probably expand on that a little bit.
So if you think about, like, have you ever been fishing before?
Yes.
John Robert has.
Yes. So when you go fishing, you use a net to, like, secure your fish, right?
Okay,
and that's
gotcha.
The schedule does it. It defends us from all the chaos and craziness that happens every single day. And it allows us to catch days because we're not wasting our time. Okay. And then the other one, sorry, I'm trying to find it. Let me come back. Oh, no, I found it. Okay. So we were talking about misconceptions around work and life. So it says, like, our false hope of living life or, like, dreading work is made worse because of the categories and, like, what they're called. So it says they imply that work is bad and life is good. We lose ourselves in work, but find ourselves in life. We survive work, but live life. And so the challenge, we're told, is to balance the heaviness of work with the lightness of life. Not the plot up there too.
Thank you. That's fire. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That's awesome.
I'll go again. So another thing that I took away was in Chris's last talk about, braving boredom and having focused intensity. I mean, there were all kinds of quotes or equations rather that we could talk about focus and intensity and all that. But the one that got me was the 90 days of focused intensity will feed you for the next year. And I have this problem with looking at the big picture, and it's really challenging to chunk things down. And so when I look at this ridiculous goal that I've set for myself, which is awesome, but this ridiculous goal that I have for next year, it's really hard to imagine being that intense for a full year to get to that goal. And so when you step back and look at it and say, okay, well, I just have to really have focused intensity over the next 90 days, I could do that. I can do anything for 30 days. I can do anything for 90 days. And that will fuel my entire next year. Like, that is way more manageable to me than looking at my big goal and saying, how am I going to maintain that intensity to get to that goal? So that was powerful for me.
Yeah, I like that piece there that I'm sorry.
No, please. Go ahead, Todd.
Where he was talking about consistency is boring, and I wrote down a little bit of progress every day feels slow, which leads to an overnight success. Then he talked about consistency exchanged for reliability. And just kind of looking at my notes, if you are persistent, you will get it. If you're consistent, you will keep it. And braving boredom leads to success. And the way that I kind of connected with that was just, some days you just have those days where the telephone looks like it weighs 150 pounds and you don't feel like picking it up and calling, right? Some days you don't feel like going out and door knocking. But if you do a little something every day to create a little bit of progress, it keeps you on track towards the bigger picture. And then when you look back, then that's where you see the progress. I don't know if I got that right, but that's how I interpret it.
Yeah. A little bit of progress each day can kind of feel slow, yet it's that, one step, and then all of a sudden, right, there's that tipping point where all of a sudden, right, you've got, you had your biggest listing month ever because you've been doing this, and this each day, and all of a sudden, boom, it happens, right? There's a concept, that I don't think Chris said it like this yet. I heard it, gradually then suddenly, right? Things happen gradually, you take one step, then all of a sudden suddenly something big happens. Yeah. Right. And so that's another way to think about that concept. But the challenge is when it's happening gradually, right? When we're making progress in steps and not leaps, we can become bored. And we become bored, become complacent. When we become complacent, we stop doing the things that are going to help us be successful, and thus the downward spiral. Yet when we can be consistent day in, day out, we create a virtuous cycle that all of a sudden creates that big tipping point where, boom, we're on track to hit our goals, or we actually hit our goals. That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, I wrote down these 4 things that he said. He said, 1, we have no idea what the fruits of our labor will be. 2, they aren't fun, they're boring. 3, a lot of people in life will try to get you to stop. And 4, keep on working on the task even after success.
Melanie, what was that first one?
People stop.
I love, go back to the first point you just made.
We have no idea what the fruits of our labor will be.
What did that mean to you?
That we have no idea that the work that we're putting in, what the outcome will be, what success we'll have.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I when I hear that, I think of Chris Suarez's story and his journey. Right? He started to be the kind of like the textbook version of the millionaire real estate agent, right? And we all know the story. He didn't wish to expand. Yet what he built was so expandable that he was able to create this system where we have here, where I'm counting 25 people on this call talking about the great summit event that we went to, because it all went back to the fruits of his labor, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago to build it up, right? He didn't know then that this was going to be an outcome, right? So we never know what the true fruits of our labor will actually be. Yet when we brave the boredom and do it day in, day out with that consistency, big things are certainly, if not bound to happen, certainly are able to happen. I love it. What else we got, guys?
A lot of times just a small little comment maybe we may make a huge impact on somebody's life and how their outcome turns out.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that, Todd. When I heard that, I immediately went back to some small comments that I've heard throughout the course of my life that helped me, right? So they're kind of seemingly innocuous comments, and they probably were to the person, for whatever reason. it hit us at the right place at the right time that gave us a boost, right? So I invite you guys to kind of think, go back, maybe when you have some time, some reflection time, think back to some of those small comments made, throughout the course of your life that kind of help shape, a direction or trajectory of it, and how kind of seemingly maybe even offhand it was from the person who gave it to you. And yet that's the power of communication, and that's the power of language, right? And think about how, if how you can do that for people in your world, whether it's family, friends, even clients. What small comments can we make? What small ways can we breathe into other people that have the opportunity to change their trajectory? I really love that point. It means, to me, it means that any day we can substantially change someone's life just by the things that we can put into someone.
Absolutely. Since I've already been back, there's another market center on the east side of Nashville is already calling me, and they already had that appointment with that team leader. And
Awesome.
that's already, those doors are already opening. So that's happened yesterday.
Love
and
that.
it's a lot of it's because of Chris. And I had planted a seed several months ago with that team lead, so she's already banging our door.
Good. I love it. That's awesome. Cool. What other ahas did you guys think about? Yeah, go ahead.
I love when he was talking about the stage of your journey. He said that what actions give you joy and happiness? Ask yourself why you were doing something and get to the root of it. If you are different at home than you are at work, you are lying in one of those areas. We create our own weather, and if we aren't living an experiential life, it's your fault.
Ooh. What, for those of you that heard that, how many of that kind of cut to the core a little bit?
I love that quote.
I mean, it's me, right? Yes, it's like, ooh, you're right. It is up to us to create our experiential lives, right? Yeah, I agree. I love that. I'm making that note. What else we got, guys? These are great ahas. And what's cool, how many of you guys, you have heard something on this call today that who was there that you didn't hear while you were there? Right? That's why I love doing these things, right? Because there's a couple of these things like, missed that, I must have been taking a note about something else. And to that point, whoever's talked about the 126 bits of information, right? I mean, how much information was being sent at us, and we all grabbed different things. And so just a great proof point as to we were all in the same room. We all heard literally the exact same thing, those of us that were there, and even simulcast live, and we pick out different things. So that's why I love these recaps, because we can hear things either that we just flat out missed the time before consciously, or we can hear things in a different way on a call like this. So I appreciate that.
I really loved Hallie's "Be Where Your Feet Are," because it's like the live in the now, but you can anchor it to something that's like physically on you, like be right where you are.
Yeah, piggybacking on that, Melanie, I love that. It was be happy in the journey, right? So like the thing that hit me was goals and happiness are at odds with each other, because if you're, we're happy when we've reached our goal, but when we're not reaching our goal, we're not happy. And so just being happy in the journey is exactly that, be where your feet are, and not being tied to the outcome, because that's a sure way to ride the roller coaster of emotions. So
It's funny, I had to go back and listen to my launch video, because that part I actually said in my launch video. I was like, oh yeah.
Be where your feet are. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Hannah, that's such a great point, Melanie, as well. Being where your feet are and being happy in the journey, right? Because, I mean, here's the thing: we all have big goals, right? And usually those goals are yearly goals, and if not, even if they're weekly goals, right? And we're not happy with the journey to get there. Let's just say we actually get there. How is that actual goal?
Did we lose Carter?
I think so. Alex, did you have something to add something to
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Well, it was from Brady's again. Apparently, I really like Brady's Perfect Week
Are we really
class.
surprised?
Huh?
Are we surprised?
That was the
Yeah.
first thing that I did. I have it right here. That was the first thing I did when I got home.
There you go. Yeah. I really like the love it or loathe it, and we cannot balance the unbalanced. We can maximize what you love. I thought that was cool because I was actually looking at it, and there's some daily activities that I just loathe. But it's it was good to just kind of walk through that a little bit so that I could figure, for me at least, I could figure out what to continue to use the team to leverage out. So
Joel
Yeah,
Fisher, you look so different.
Yeah. So, you know, what's really disappointing is that whatever I was saying when I froze was just the most profound thing that's ever been said in the history of Hangouts.
Of
And
course.
unfortunately, you just missed it.
well,
And
good
so
good thing you have memory, so you can just tell us again.
no, not at all. And so the cool thing is, my feet are now in this office, and I'm so joyous about being here because this room has much better vibes than the room I was in. So see, there you go. I'm happy. I'm happy with where my feet are at. All right. So thank you guys for continuing without me. So I'm sure I missed some good stuff. Anyway, so cool. All right.
Well,
So
Alex stepped up to the
Alex
plate.
said the profound thing for you, so.
oh, awesome. Well, yes, that's I'm sure very true. Cool. All right. What else we got? What other ahas that we guys taken away from it?
I really liked what Patrick said. He said that the solution to pollution is dissolution, and he was talking about bad reviews on the internet. And so just to get those kind of to clear the air is to fix them and not let them cloud your brain up. Even if it happens, just don't look at it. I mean, obviously you can't fix them, but just don't look at them. Don't let them bring you down.
You know, I love that. And here's a question that I've got, and I'll open this up to the group. So obviously he was talking, that was in context to, bad reviews online, right? So if you get one bad review, you dilute it with a bunch of good reviews. Yep. How can we take that and make that a mindset question, right?
I'm just thinking about it. If you have like a client who says something mean or whatever on a call or whatever, you can either just power through it or think about all the good things that people have said to you, whether it's on this call or your family or whatever. So, pollute it with all the good things that are going on in your world.
Yeah, right. Who on this call ever has polluted or pollution thoughts that creep into their mind from time to time? Yeah, of course. And so let's, practice diluting those with good thoughts, right? And so I also went there when I heard that. I was like, man, that's such a powerful thing, right? Because we can't get away from negative thoughts because they happen, right? Because we happen to be human, and that's just part of the human experience. And when we can dilute those with positive thoughts, it can keep us on the right path and not and not going to negative. So I appreciate that, both from a tactical, hey, if we get a bad review online, what do you do? And hey, when we find ourselves in a negative mindset, what can we do to get out of that and to not let that affect us and affect the clients that we're around? Yeah, love that.
Carter, that reminds me of what Diana Kokoska says, where you can't control your first thought, but you can control every thought thereafter. So, that first initial thing that pops into our head, just having the ability to stop, slow down, and make a decision on what our next thought is going to be around that is exactly what that reminded me of.
Yeah, I agree. I love that.
At the top of my list, I had write reviews for other people. So I've been making phone calls to other business owners to see if I can write some reviews for them. And I have been, as of late, asking for good, when we have, 9 times out of 10, we have a good experience. So had some people write some really, really scathing novels here lately.
Good. It's a great action item. I love that. Great. What else we got, guys?
I'll go again.
Please, yeah, this is great.
I feel like I talk way too much, but one
Not
of
at
the
all.
things, it's funny when you look back and you're pulling out like the key things that you took away. I totally have noticed a theme for myself, and I think it just speaks to like where you're at currently, because a lot of my stuff is along the same lines. But one of the things that in the whole focus section, I think it was Chris that said, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And, one of the things, like, obviously we script practice and we role play so that we're prepared, but there is such a thing as like, paralysis analysis, trying to have too much information before you jump on the call and do your lead generation, wanting to know everything about the property before you make the call. And sometimes all of that, trying to get all of that information robs you of being focused on the task that you're doing. And it just clutters your mind. It flowed right into the conversation about your mental environment and how, creating white space and decluttering your mental state helps you focus. So I loved that.
How do we declutter our mental space?
I think there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Circling back to what we were just talking about with, not focusing on the negative, like having your first thought, whatever that is, and then how to kind of brain dump that and refocus. I think like a physical thing that you could do, because it's easy to say and it's really hard to do. So sometimes you have to physically do something to be able to just do it mentally in the future. But one of the things that I thought about for myself is anytime I have a bad experience or a bad situation or just a negative thought, immediately stopping and writing, 3 positive things down, or writing 3 gratefuls or something like that will automatically flip the switch and move you into, I think, a less cluttered space, because now you're focused on the positive and you can move forward easier. Other than that, I got nothing. So whatever you guys.
Hannah, to your point, we could do that by making sure we have white space built into our daily calendar.
Yeah. So meditation, exercise, and I was going to say, journaling, that whole savers thing has helped me a lot.
Can you expound on savers?
No. I don't know.
Okay, so
I don't know what all of it is, but I know it's exercise, meditation, journaling. Do you know it?
I got it. It's silence, affirmations, visualizing, exercise, reading, and scribing. And they're from Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning.
Also
No,
Millionaire Morning.
say it. I'm like,
Yeah. It's sorry to put you on the spot, Melanie.
no, that's
yes.
okay. That's okay.
No, I just want to make sure that for those of us that are not familiar, that was explained. Yes. So the whole concept is, start your day by fueling yourself, right? And the miracle part of that is kind of what it does for you. And when you can start your day with that kind of intentionality, as well as he preaches consistency around doing it. So making it a habit to each morning. Silence, which is meditation, prayer, whatever that looks like for you, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading and writing. Scribing is writing. That's a way to kind of help declutter the mind first thing in the morning, so that you are prepared for the day ahead, and when things come at you, which they do every day because we happen to be alive. we're better prepared to thwart that. So love it.
I got one from John's, capture, close, whatever, capture, cultivate, and close. And talking about like having a big goal and seeing the slow progression, this could actually kind of help speed that up a little bit. By January, we should have 15% of our closing goal in our pipeline. So that could, I mean, if you have 15% by January, I don't know if it's like the end of January, January 1st, but let's just say it's January 1st. And you know, you can definitely tell from the very beginning if you're on track or off track. And that could be that you could kick in your 15th protocol quickly. So that could, you know, granted you have the entire year to get it done. And if you can start doing your 15th protocol January 1st or 2nd, in my opinion, then you can fast track that.
I must have been like super captivated by John talking, because the only note that I wrote down in his section was that have 15% of your goal already in your pipeline for Q1. So I think that was incredible.
Agreed. So let me ask, what's significant about 15% in your pipeline by January 1st? Anybody got some thoughts around that?
Doing some quick math to figure this
out. I'll give you a hint. Typically, if it's in your pipeline, how long will it take for it to close?
30 to 90 days.
And
like 60 to 90 days, really.
Yeah. And every month is what percent of the year?
Like 8%, right? Oh, that's 2 months. So you've already gotten your first 2 months of the year done.
Right, because if they're not in your pipeline by January 1st, what's the chance that they're going to show up in your pipeline for you to close them by the end of February?
You're hoping, and hope isn't a strategy.
Well, it's not a good strategy, at least. It's like, oh, you know, it's the last week of the month. I'm sure that cash buyer is just going to be right there. Call me like in the next 5 minutes. So I better be, you know, right by the office phone here. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That is such a great goal for us to have as we're thinking about ending the year, right? I mean, let's take a quick step back and talk about why do we have this event in October, right? What's the purpose around that, right? It's not because we don't like football and wish for us to be doing this during football season. It's because October is the perfect opportunity for us to A, finish the year strong, and B, get ready for next year, right? And so the content from the summit from what I understand historically, and especially this year, is all about how can we finish the year really strong this year, and what do we need to do to prepare ourselves in the work that we're doing between now and the end of the year to have a great jump start and get ourselves ahead of our goals for 2020. So you know, that having that idea of how can we have 15% of our yearly needs met from a pipeline standpoint, and hopefully we're going into the new year with some listings on the books or ready to be on the books, and some pendings on the books, so that we can have a great start to the year. And we do that with the work that we're going to be doing here in the next, you know, call it 2.5 months. Actually, today is October 15th. Is that right? So literally 2.5 months. Yeah. That's a little sobering, isn't it? 2.5 months. What else we got? Something uplifting. I feel like I took the energy down, or maybe it's just my energy. Who's got something uplifting that they took away?
My biggest one was from Patrick Galvin when he talked about you never know where your next relationship opportunity is. And I think about that and like the function of my role, and a lot of the amazing agents that I've been introduced to is simply from being at the right training event in front of the right team leader or the right OP, not me sitting behind a desk and like making cold calls. You know, that's not necessarily the highest and best use of where I find great talent. So going out to where the talent is, being purposeful about those relationships, and just, coming from contribution in them.
Love that. So Brady, for those of us that are not growth leaders, how can we take that concept down to a real estate client level?
I mean, go where your clients are hanging out, right? So you never know in that neighborhood where you're door knocking, like where that listing, is going to show up, or where the neighbor who knows everyone is going to show up, who can tell you who's likely to sell. You just never know who's going to be there.
And to build on that, Brady, you can know that by tracking your numbers.
Alex, I missed that. Could you say that again?
Did you miss it, or you just want me to say it again? Tracking your numbers is where you track your numbers at a high level, you'll know where your highest and best use of your time is.
That's really profound, Alex. I love that.
I was saying it more to myself than anybody else in this call, I promise you. So, as you know, Carter.
Hence my temporary hearing loss. Love that. Cool. All right. We got about 15 minutes left. What I'd love to do is for everybody here that's willing to share, I'd love to get 1 to 2 action items. So we've got a lot of great ahas that we've shared here, and I want to make sure that we take them from ahas and great things that we wrote down on paper and actually get them done. The one thing that I'll share from an aha for me to kind of get us going in this realm. Chris said it in the Braving Boredom. He says, "You're not going to get momentum at Summit. You get momentum through the daily habits. Habits can start here, yet you must take action." Here being Summit. So as great as these ahas are, lots of learning, yet for them to actually do anything for us, we've got to put them into action. So with that being said, what are 1 to 2 action items that you guys are going to take from the Summit experience, whether you were there in person, or maybe you are hearing it now for the first time, some of these concepts, or saw them on the live stream. So we'd love to open it up and let's get some real meaty action items that we're going to be doing coming out of Summit.
Yeah, I think he said that Zig Ziglar, character that got us out of bed, commitment that moved us into action, and discipline that allowed us to follow through.
Love that. It's great. That's a great quote. So with that, who's got some action items? What's going to get us into action? What are the disciplines that we're taking away that are going to move the needle for us, for our business, and most importantly, our experiential life?
For me, it's just I've constantly been working on this, just getting really, really good at scheduling and clear on my schedule and building on a perfect week so that when things come up, I can manage my energy and my time, both for my business and my personal life.
Do you mind if I ask you some questions around that?
Yeah, come
on. Okay, so what did you learn from Summit that you're actually going to put into place that's different than whatever it is you were doing prior?
I don't know if it's different. It's just making it a daily habit. At the beginning of the week or the beginning of the month, really, I go in and I schedule all my open houses. I put them on my schedule. And I think that if I can go in on a daily basis and say, I'm doing this, and that just comes from having a really solid, perfect week. I have an idea of a perfect week, but I don't think I've written them down, but I've never followed it. And so I'm decent at scheduling and I'm decent at a perfect week. But I think if I can merge those two together, then it's just getting into that routine and that habit of doing door knocking on a Thursday for my open house on a Saturday or whatever it is. And so that I can just get really clear and I don't have to wake up in the morning and figure out what I'm trying to do that day. So it's not doing anything different. I think it's just doing it more, instead of just checking off, like you and I have talked about, and checking off the box, it's doing it at a deep level.
Awesome. Be more intentional is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. Cool.
I'll piggyback on that because I have a similar challenge and opportunity to grow. And I think the action item that I'm going to implement is the whole Pomodoro method of like super focused for 25 minutes at a time. Start small, because when I try to like really follow my schedule and I time block an hour of calling FSBOs, an hour of calling expireds, whatever that looks like, I'm like looking at this 2-hour time block of lead gen, and it's a lot harder to get excited about that. And so the action item that I'm going to take is implementing I'm just going to do something for 25 minutes. And then if I want to keep going, I will, but at least I've committed to the 25 minutes, and then I can take a small break if I want to, and then get back into another 25-minute time block.
Awesome.
Yeah, I piggyback on that too. That's what I'm gonna start doing. And I love when Brady was talking about like putting things into your schedule just to break up your day, like a dance party, you know, just to break it up. Because what was that? Yeah, I mean, it brings your energy back up, because especially cold calling, I mean, it just, the objections and the rejection and everything, you know, just eats at you, and it brings your energy down. So you need to, I mean, energy drinks and, you know, all of that, that's not going to do it. Even if you have to exercise in the middle of the day, I don't know, but something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love that idea, and I loved Brady sharing that, right? Because yeah, we have to keep our energy high, and I think, you know, I'm going on limb and saying, you know, that was kind of the point that Patrick made, is that we, you know, our attention, we can only do things, especially at a really high level, for so long before we just kind of just sputter out, right? There's only so much gas in the tank, right? And so we have to, you know, we have to take those mental breaks, sometimes those physical breaks. And, you know, to that point, Melanie, you know, we get into a rut calling for sell by owners, and we keep, you know, not getting the answers that we need, or the energy levels off. Well, we can keep powering through, and we hit our 2 hours of lead gen, yet what are we going to have to show for it, do you think, if we're just going, oh my gosh, let's let this clock run out, right? Versus, you know, take a 5-minute break, have a dance party, come back in, and now the next person that we speak with, do we have an opportunity to maybe influence their energy level a little bit? Yeah, I bet we do.
I mean, I know it sounds super silly, but it makes me laugh. Like, me and another agent, like, we go and look in the mirror and like tell like affirmations to ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great. So here's one thing I'm going to ask you to do: is the next time you have that personal dance party, would you record it for us and post it on the Slack?
Yes, I will do that for sure.
Awesome. Love that. Cool. What else? What other action items are we taking away from the week?
I think it's just braving the boredom. Oh, sorry, Brady, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just braving the boredom and doing the activities. You know, I had a conversation with Chris, and we were talking about, you know, me, I loathe putting my leads into my database after I'm done lead generating. And so at what point am I just being a brat? Because, you know, when I can have someone else do that, it's not as personal as me doing it myself, because I'm the one that had the conversation with them. I'm the one that is going to be able to provide my database and talk to my database the best and provide that information. And so when those conversations are done, it's, you know, you forget so much when you move on to the next one. So just really being intentional and leaving that white space. So I put in between my calling my expireds, right before my lead input and after my lead input, white space. So then I give myself enough time between each one of those. So if either one runs over, I need more time for the other. I can, you know, I'll be able to get that done no matter what.
Awesome. Great action item. What else you got, Brady?
I was just going to say, being more intentional in social media and LinkedIn, and providing reviews, and just, you know, building other people's businesses up regardless if I do business with them or not, just people that are well respected in the community, and communities that we want to be in, quite frankly. So that's mine.
So can I ask you some questions around that?
Sure.
I don't know. Can you? You can. I may not answer them. So I love that. So what are you going to do to actually tactically do that?
I mean, it starts in the calendar, so it's got to be in my schedule. So I tactically have lists on Facebook of all of the leaders that I already know, or people that, and then I have a different list on Facebook of people that I want to know better. So every day I can log into those two lists and just see those people in my feed, versus like having to dig through or like type their name in and search and all of that. Like that takes way too much time. So creating those Facebook lists, I quite frankly haven't updated it in probably like 4 months. So updating it is the first step after that. And then going in and purposefully interacting with people, and not just liking, like commenting and doing the relationship building piece through social media.
Love that. Cool. Thanks.
Facebook list. That's amazing. I totally didn't think about that. And that is such a great tool.
It's awesome. It like weeds everything out.
Yeah. And that way when we use the lists, we're less likely to get sucked into the world that is Facebook.
Bingo.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I will tell you, I am certainly guilty of, hey, I'm going to go on here and I'm going to be purposeful about doing whatever it is, like, making a post or liking something or what to do that stuff. And all of a sudden 30 minutes later, I'm like, 100 scrolls deep and going, oh my gosh, what have I done with my life?
You're watching coming home videos and crying at your desk. I don't know. Maybe I do that.
It's a little too personal, Brady. We'll no, I'm just kidding. But no, it's right. Yeah, I mean, that can help us. That can help us be purposeful without. Look, face it. Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar company. The reason why they are that is because they're great at getting us to get sucked in. Right? They're not who they are because they're not great at that. So we have to make hacks to not allow them to win. And it's a daily, if not hourly, struggle. At least for me. Cool. What other action items we got?
I got one.
Hey.
So right as I left Breakside Brewery, saying goodbye to everybody, I looked Chris in the eye and I said, I'm going to build a team this year. And part of that was that I had a showing assistant show houses over the weekend while we were at Summit, and we got him into contract. So to me, that was leverage. That was living an experiential life, working remotely, and it just clicked in me that it's time for me to just stop worrying about what could go wrong and worry about what can go right. And so I immediately came home and pulled up the org chart of building a team with an experience, and I've got an interview later this week with the showing assistant. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to tell you all right here, so you can hold me accountable to keep going. I'll be 5 years in November, so it's time.
Yeah, love that, right? And good for you for at least experimenting with it while you were out, right? And seeing what it could be, right? I feel like sometimes things like that, like leverage and things of that nature are scary, right? I mean, it's our clients, it's the people that know, trust, and like us, not some other person. And wow, what if? And to that, Nate, I love what you said. What if I can give them to someone else that can help them even better than I can, whether that's in the moment or whatever else. Then yeah, that's so powerful. We can give people great experiences through that as well. And to Brady's point, she put in the notes, help someone else build their experiential life. I love that. Cool. Right.
Help more
We've got
people.
two. Yeah, exactly. We can help a lot more people. Agreed. We've got 2 more minutes for some action items. Who else has an action item that they are going to take away from this week or maybe even this call?
Can we chat a little bit more about the 15% in the pipeline?
Sure.
Like, that's for the first of the year, right? 15%? Okay.
Yeah. So the idea and the goal is, so if you know that you need to close, let's just call it 30 transactions to hit your goal, well, then we need to get 15% of those people in your pipeline by December the 31st. And I would even argue we probably need to have, whatever, January and under contract by December 31st.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, 1 more minute. I'd like to get 2 more really quick action items that we're going to do. We're going to do coming out of Summit.
First deal award.
Say that again.
First deal award.
First deal award.
I'm going to give any agent we have needs to have a first deal award.
I love that.
I had the same deal. I had a newbie here while I was gone, and he put together. I mean, I coached him through to how to do it, but he wrote his first contract. So
awesome.
He bounced off the walls. We got it accepted and all done. So
great job.
I think we need to reward that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, how I talked about rewarding the small things, right? First contract is a great. I mean, maybe it's not even a small thing, yet rewarding things along the way to where our goals are. So I agree. All right, guys. Hey, thank you all so much. If you have any other ahas, any other action items, feel free to go into the Slack channel or post them in there, and let's all together go out and have a great end of the year and a great start to next year. Thank you all so much for your time today and for the participation and sharing.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Connor.